The hidden face of Pythagoras. We hear the name Pythagoras, we immediately think of the triangle theorem. But that was just the surface. The real Pythagoras was much more than a mathematician. He was a mystic, a spiritual teacher, a seeker of the invisible truths. He studied in the temples of Egypt, where sacred knowledge was passed in silence and symbols. He wasn't interested in numbers for calculation. He wanted to understand the soul, the universe, and the patterns that hold all things together. He founded a school, but not an ordinary one. It was a temple of silence, a sanctuary of transformation. Only those who were truly ready could enter and stay. The initiatic school. The school Pythagoras founded was called the Order of Croton. There, the first lesson was silence. Students would go months, even years, without speaking a word. Silence was not a punishment, it was preparation, it was purification. In silence, they learned to hear the inner voice. They learned to listen not just with ears, but with the heart. Before speaking wisely, one must learn to listen deeply. The teachings were not given to everyone. They were earned, step by step, in proportion to inner growth. The music of the spheres. Pythagoras believed that the universe is music, not music we hear with ears, but a cosmic harmony. Every planet, every star, moves and vibrates, and each movement creates sound. These sounds form a grand, celestial symphony, the music of the spheres. We don't hear it because we've been surrounded by it since birth, just like a fish doesn't feel water. This harmony is not a metaphor, it is a law of reality. Everything vibrates, everything sings, and when we are aligned, we become part of that music. Sacred proportions and cosmic patterns. Pythagoras discovered that musical notes followed precise mathematical ratios. These same ratios appeared in nature, in plants, in shells, in human bodies. These were not just numbers. They were the hidden code of beauty, of balance, of truth. He realized that everything, from galaxies to cells, follows the same patterns. Mathematics wasn't cold or lifeless to him. It was divine. It was a language written by the universe itself. Sound as spiritual practice in the Pythagorean path. Music was not just art. It was medicine. It was prayer. Different melodies were used at different times of day. Before sleep, calming music. Upon waking, music to align the spirit. They believed music could heal, clarify, balance. Today, science is confirming these ancient truths. Sound therapy, frequency healing, vibrational medicine, all rediscovering what Pythagoras taught centuries ago. He knew that sound wasn't entertainment, it was transformation. The immortal soul and reincarnation. Pythagoras taught that the soul is immortal. It doesn't die, it moves from body to body, carrying lessons and impressions from each life. This process is called metempsychosis, the journey of the soul through many forms. He said the soul is like a flame. When one lamp goes out, the fire is passed to another. The shape changes, but the essence remains. Every life is a test, every action leaves a mark. What we become next depends on how we live now. Inner alchemy and daily practice. True alchemy, according to Pythagoras, was not about turning metals into gold. It was about turning ignorance into wisdom. His students lived with discipline and simplicity. They followed a plant-based diet. They practiced daily self-reflection. They washed their words carefully. Every action was sacred. Every choice was a step toward inner clarity. They used music, silence, numbers, all to purify the soul. This was inner alchemy. Transformation from within. The Pythagorean order. The community was structured like a spiritual monastery, but without religion. There were rituals, but they were inner. Students rose and slept at exact times. They studied music, math, astronomy, and ethics. They took sacred oaths, especially on the tetractys, a symbol formed from the numbers 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10. It represented the totality of existence. But most important was character. Intelligence mattered less than virtue. They sought harmony, inside and out, downfall and legacy. As the Pythagorean school grew, its influence spread into politics. Some students became leaders, advisors, reformers, but with power came resistance. Enemies of the order accused them of controlling from the shadows. Fear turned to violence. The school was attacked. Buildings were burned, some were killed. Pythagoras fled, and much of his teachings were lost, but not entirely. Fragments survived. Symbols carved in stone, stories passed down. The order disappeared on the outside, but it lived on in silence, within. The universe as sacred geometry to Pythagoras, numbers were living principles. Every shape, triangle, circle, spiral, carried a message. Geometry wasn't just design, it was divine speech. He believed the universe was created with patterns. Before matter, there was relation. Before form, there was number. Architects today still use the golden ratio. DNA follows mathematical codes. Sacred temples and cathedrals echo these same proportions. Geometry reveals the invisible through the visible. To study it is to glimpse the mind of the divine.